So, continuing to explore the island of Borneo, remember it is politically divided. There are three different countries here. And we were talking about the issue of deforestation. Logging is a large piece of this. Some illegal cutting is a problem, but the governments are cracking down on that. The most significant cause of deforestation in Borneo and throughout the rainforest here in insular Southeast Asia is for plantation crops. So, clearing the land for agriculture. And the biggest crop that is driving that is palm oil. And palm oil is a crop. It's a tree where and then you harvest the fruit, and the oil is then used in a whole bunch of products and in biofuel. Okay? And so there is a huge amount of interest in investing in palm oil because it not only gets used in so many products that people use around the world every single day, but there are a lot of people who are very interested in its promise as an alternative to petroleum products. But this is not a food crop the way that you might have, a big plantation, a big farm where you're focused on growing grain or bananas. So this is very much a mixed issue. The UN actually considers the fact that palm oil is being expanded and that a huge amount of the land is being used to grow palm oil instead of food crops. They actually consider that a human right abuse because it is decreasing the amount of food that is available and putting people's nutrition and health at risk. And so this is a large multi-sided issue. This is what a palm oil plantation looks like. All of that diversity and growth, and all of the lush growth that you find in a rainforest gets cut down, and then a non-native species, it's actually an invasive species, gets planted. And so you lose all of the small animals, the snakes, the birds, as well as all of that rich plant life. This is what the fruit looks like, the palm, and then an awful lot of the oil and the main focus comes from the seed that is here. Okay? And Malaysia and Indonesia are the world's two major producers of palm oil, and they have recently pledged to plant more sustainably, but this is still a very large issue. And again, that issue between growing fuel and versus growing food is a large issue for people's nutrition and development and health. And the irony of destroying the rainforest and causing an environmental catastrophe to grow something that can be used in a fuel as a fuel to prevent other environmental catastrophes from petroleum products, right? That is a very much a weird competing issue here. So we're causing an environmental problem to try and solve an environmental problem. And this is not a very sustainable approach. But I have a video here about palm oil as a biofuel and about some of the environmental consequences. So there's a short clip there for you to watch. And I did also want to just mention how many products palm oil is and how we need to be aware of this issue of the fact that we are destroying the rainforest and animals are losing their habitat because people really like to use palm oil because it's cheap and goes in a lot of different products. Right? So, how many of us use things like this, right? It's not just these brands, it's this kind of food. So, everything from ketchup to hot chocolate to mascara to dish soap has palm oil in it. And there's an increasing call for people to use palm oil that is grown sustainably. That does not mean that more rainforest is being destroyed, and to find alternatives because this really is causing environmental consequences. And one of the animals that is particularly threatened by palm oil and its growth is the orangutan. So the orangutan, the name is actually Malay. It comes from the word for man or person, which is orang, and then hutan, which means forest. So orangutan literally means people of the forest. And there's fossil evidence that orangutans used to be widespread across much of Southeast Asia, the mainland and the islands. Today, they're only found in the rainforests on Borneo or Sumatra. And Sumatra is that one that's kind of a teardrop shape that points north, that is on the southern side of the Strait of Malacca. But most of the remaining orangutan population is in Borneo. 2 species remain. Both of them are endangered. They are among the most intelligent of primates. They're a pretty close cousin of humans. And there is increasing evidence that they use tools, which humans tend to view as a level of intelligence and advancement that is very high on the scale of intelligence. There is some evidence that they may fish. I've seen it in many places, but I'm not fully sure that it's more than apocryphal. So I don't have a picture of that. But we do know that they use leaves to whistle and to signal each other and tell their fellow group members about danger or about where food is. So we know that they actually whistle with leaves. So that is definitely an example of tool use. Okay? And they're very cute and fuzzy as well. So okay, so there's some of the orangutans. Couple more thoughts about physical geography in this area. This is another area that is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which of course rings the Pacific. And we talked a little bit about it here when we were talking about South America. Now we're over here in Asia talking about this area. And Indonesia and the Philippines are a really important part of the Ring of Fire. We will talk about it again when we talk about Japan and when we talk about New Zealand. But for the moment, here we are in Indonesia and the Philippines. So we have huge amounts of volcanic and seismic activity, and this whole area is subject to earthquakes, to volcanoes, and to tsunamis. So these are all risks that this area is very much exposed to. And here's why. I mean, look at the number of faults and plates that are all coming together in this same pretty small area. These dark kind of maroon lines, those are faults. And then we have all of these different plates. And look at this, and they're moving in different directions and hitting each other. And this is why this is such a volcanically and seismically active area. Okay? In fact, this is a map of the major volcanoes of Indonesia just with eruptions since 1900. And look, you can see the line where these faults are. Isn't that amazing? Right in here is where Krakatoa is, which is the one that I mentioned. Had such a huge explosion that it was heard halfway around the world. And then the 2004 earthquake that happened right here off the coast of Sumatra in the Aceh district, this is what caused that very devastating tsunami that happened and not only devastated a large amount of the northern part of Sumatra, but the tsunami went north across the Indian Ocean and devastated the coast of India as well. And as devastating as this was, it has led to a much better understanding of tsunamis. And because this was the first time that we really had footage, a video of how a tsunami actually works. They tend to be fairly isolated areas, and it's only recently that we have enough cameras that we're able to catch this well. And so this was actually a really exciting development for people who study these kinds of earthquakes and tsunamis. As devastating as it was, it greatly advanced our understanding of the phenomenon, how to plan for it, and it helped launch a worldwide effort to put buoys and sensors all over the world so that we have a better chance of figuring out where a tsunami is and when they might be triggered. So as devastating as this was, this actually ended up bringing a lot of very good scientific advancement. All right. And then we are done with this section. I will talk to you guys in the East Asia section.